Hi everyone, it's Lisa Mears, and I'm here today to share with you the brand new Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting and embossing machine in black. This edition is only available at Scrapbook.com, and I want to take a minute to thank Scrapbook.com for sending me this amazing machine. In this video, I'm going to do an unboxing of the Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine. I'll show you how to use the Universal Plate System that's included with it, and I'll also be making a card. This Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine is a manual die cutting and embossing machine. And as I open the top of the box, the first thing I see is the Spellbinders Universal Plate System. This system consists of a set of 7 plates, which give you more versatility for die cutting and embossing. And I'll go over that system in just a little bit. Next is the handle for your die cutting and embossing machine. And underneath all of this cardboard lays the machine. So I'll go ahead and take my machine out, but also in this box is a special edition black tool-in-one, which I'll show you that as well. So here's a look at the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting and embossing machine. You can see that it's a beautiful matte and gloss black machine, and most of the machine is in the matte finish, but around the edges, the carry handle, and the turning handle, which you'll see here in a minute, has a gloss black finish. This machine is a special collaboration between Scrapbook.com and Spellbinders, so you can see it has both the Spellbinders name and the Scrapbook.com name on the front of the machine. The only thing that you need to do to get this up and running is to add the turn handle to the side of the machine. So I am going to go ahead and open this package, and I'm going to add the turn handle to my machine. So you can see that the turn handle, the actual handle part, has a glossy finish, and then the turning arm handle is a matte finish. So I'm going to go ahead and open this little package up. This package contains an Allen wrench, a washer, and a screw. So if you look closely, the inside of the turn handle has a flat edge, and you're just going to match that flat edge up with the flat edge of the metal post on the machine. And once you line that up, you just put your turn handle right in place, and then you're going to take a washer and a screw. You're going to put the washer on the screw, and then you're going to insert the screw right inside the opening at the top of the turning handle arm. And once it's in there, just take your Allen wrench and turn it to screw clockwise to tighten that up. Once it's tightened, you're going to take the cap and you're just going to cover up that screw. And it's as easy as that. So all you need to do is put that handle on, and then it's ready to go. You can see that the top of the machine has the carry handle in a glossy finish, and it's easy to pick up the machine with that carry handle and bring it to your workstation. You can keep the trays on the die cutting and embossing machine closed to save space when you're storing your machine, and when you're ready to use the machine, just open up the trays. So here's a look at the machine from the front with the front tray open. So in this package includes the Spellbinders Universal Plate System, and it also includes a registration card for your product as well as an instruction manual. And then here is a look at the directions for how to use your machine. This first page will tell you everything that is included in your package, including all of the sizes for all of the plates for the Universal Plate System. If you turn the page, it will show you how to set up your machine, which includes how to install that handle that I previously showed you, and how to prepare your machine to get ready to create with it. And on the next page, it will give you instructions on how to make a sandwich, whether you're using dies or whether you're using an embossing folder, a 2D versus a 3D embossing folder, and it gives you all the instructions on how to set up all of the plates in order to get the best results. So here is a look at all of the 7 plates included. The Platform A base has instructions on it for the different types of sandwiches you can do with your plates in order to get the very best results when die cutting and embossing. This platform base is 20% larger than the older machine. It's 6.25 inches, which will accommodate larger dies and embossing folders. This Platform A base is also a little bit thinner, but not by much, than the original platform base in the old system. In this new system, Spellbinders added a thin platform top, which is the B platform, to make up for the original thickness in the old system. You also have 2 cutting plates, and those are labeled C. And in this new system, your cutting plates are this beautiful pink color. So I just want to do a quick comparison between the old cutting plates with the old machine and the new ones. I have my old cutting plate here shown in the gold glitter color. You can see that the new pink cutting plate with this new machine is a little bit longer, which will accommodate your larger dies such as slimline dies and embossing folders. The old cutting plate is about 8 3/4 inches long, and the new one is 9.6 inches long, which is almost about 1 inch difference in length. So this new machine will allow you to work with longer dies and longer embossing folders, which is awesome. You also get an adapter plate, which is labeled plate D, and this is used when you want to emboss a cut shape, and it's also used when you have 3D embossing folders. There's also the embossing mat, which is labeled E, again used for embossing cut shapes. Also included is the shim, which is labeled F, and this is good for when you need that little bit of extra pressure when die cutting or embossing. So with all of these plates, you have more options to create even more layers in your die cutting machine for even better results. I previously did an in-depth video on how to use the Universal Plate System, which I'll link at the top right corner of this video. I'll also include a link to it in the description box below. So if you're interested in learning more about this Universal Plate System, please go watch that video. Also included in this package is the Tool-in-One by Spellbinders. This tool is a must-have for die cutting, and they included it in this package, which is awesome. So this tool comes in black because it matches the die cutting machine. And at the end of this tool is this brush, and this is very useful for when you want to remove all of the paper bits left in your dies after die cutting. At the opposite end of this tool is a straight piercing tip, which is useful to clean out the chads that are left in your dies. You can also use it to separate the backing from adhesives. And there's a little plastic piece included that you can put back on the end of that tip so that when you're not using it, the tip is not exposed. You can change out this tip, so if you take this part here and just pull down, it will release the tip, and this package also comes with another tip. This is actually an angled tip, so you can either have the straight tip or the angled tip, and you just pop that back in there. So again, to release it, you just pull down on the top part of that Tool-in-One. You can also unscrew the base, and you can store your tip right inside of the base and then screw it back so that it is closed. So I want to go ahead and do some die cutting and embossing just to show you how to use the various plates that come with this machine. So here I have the brand new Scrapbookcom Mosaic die. This is a background die or a cover plate, and it's A2 in size, so it fits perfectly on the front of an A2 size card. This die has a lot of cut lines, so I thought this would be perfect to use. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the trays for my die cutting and embossing machine, and I have my A platform base already in the machine. Next, I'm going to put the B platform top right on that top of that. The B plate is a much thinner plate, so it just allows for a little bit of extra pressure. I'm going to go ahead and add my C cutting plate, and then my paper, my die face down, and then my cutting plate right on top of the die. And I'll go ahead and run this through my die cutting machine So I'm just going to rotate that handle until it's all the way through. If you want to rotate it back one more time, you can, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go ahead and see how this cut. So I'm going to go ahead and move this machine out of the way, and you can see that the paper did stay in that die, but no worries, because I'm going to go ahead and take my tool-in-one and use that piercing side and just poke those little holes in the die to loosen up the cardstock, and then I'm going to pull that right out of the die. And you can see that it did a really nice job of cutting all of those intricate lines. I'm going to go ahead and take my tool-in-one, and I can go ahead and clean out the die using the die brush. So now I'm going to demonstrate how to build an embossing folder sandwich. The sandwiches are different depending on the type of embossing folder that you are using. I'm using a 3D embossing folder from Spellbinders, which is thicker than traditional embossing folders. This one is called Beautiful Blooms, and it not only is thicker, but it's longer than a traditional embossing folder. This one measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and it's great for your larger cards. If you happen to forget which plates to use, remember that there are directions that come with the machine as well as on the platform base. So the instructions here on the left show you how to build a standard embossing folder sandwich, and the ones on the right show you how to build an embossing folder sandwich using a 3D embossing folder, which is what I'm going to demonstrate right now. To build the sandwich, we're going to start with the platform A base. We're also going to add the 3D embossing folder with the paper inside, and then on top we'll add the adapter plate D. So I'll go ahead and turn the handle and run that through my die cutting machine, and when that comes out, you can see that beautiful raised impression on that cardstock. So here's the embossed side, and when you turn it over, you can see the debossed side on the back. So that was the sandwich for using a Spellbinders 3D embossing folder, but what if you just have a regular embossing folder? Here I have a Pink and Main. This is the Daisies embossing folder. You can actually see the difference in the thickness between the two embossing folders. So the Spellbinders one is much thicker than this Pink and Main one. So in order to build a standard embossing folder sandwich, you're going to start with the platform base A, then you'll add the thin platform top B, followed by the standard embossing folder with the paper inside, and then one cutting plate. I'll go ahead and run that through my die cutting and embossing machine. And now when I take it out, you can see the embossed design. It gave me a good impression, but I felt like I can get a better impression if I just changed up my sandwich a little bit. So I'm going to try this again. This time I'm going to add the shim to my sandwich. So I already have the platform base A and the platform top B. I'm just adding the shim, which is the F, and then I'm adding the embossing folder with the paper inside and my cutting plate on top. So I just added the shim to the sandwich. Now I'm going to run that through my machine, and I did notice that it gave me a much deeper impression just by adding the shim. So play with the different sandwiches depending on what types of embossing folders you have, because with all of the different plates that are available with this die cutting and embossing machine, you're surely going to find a sandwich that works with the types of embossing folders that you have. So now I'm ready to make a card. I'm going to be using the Scrapbookcom Layered Roses die set. This die set consists of 7 dies. There are 2 roses, a larger and a smaller one, with their shadow layer. There are also 3 different dies for the leaves for the roses, and you can see those here. So I'm going to use these for my card. I'm also going to be bringing in the Scrapbookcom Floral Smooth Cardstock paper pad. This is a 6x8 paper pad, and it has all of the colors that you see here on the front. I love using paper pads like this with different color combinations because I know that everything is going to match. So I'm going to pull out some of the cardstock from this pad, and I'm going to do some die cutting. So I have my 2 shadow layers I'm going to cut with this darker pink cardstock. And I'm also going to take some of the leaf dies and I'm going to pull out some of the green cardstock from that pad, a couple different shades of the green. I'm also going to use just some white cardstock to die cut the roses, but first I'm going to put some of the Scrapbookcom 2-inch double-sided adhesive on the back of that white cardstock because I want to make sure, since those dies are so intricate, that they have a double-sided adhesive tape on the back when I run it through my die cutting machine. I don't want to have to worry about adding glue to the back side. So to die cut these dies, I start with the platform base A. I'm going to also add on top of that the platform B top, followed by one of the pink cutting plates. I will add my white cardstock with the double-sided adhesive face down, so the double-sided adhesive part of the cardstock is actually touching that pink cutting plate, and then I will add the rose dies face down onto the white cardstock. Next, I'm going to add the pink cardstock with the rose shadow dies, and I'm going to add another pink cutting plate right on top, and I will run this through my die cutting machine. I did run it through forward and backward because I wanted to make sure I really got a good cut, since that white cardstock has some double-sided adhesive on it. So with the double-sided adhesive, it just makes that cardstock a little bit thicker than normal. I'll set those dies aside, and next I will die cut the leaves. So I'm going to add some of the green cardstock with the leaf dies. I'm just going to trim this a little bit so I have more room to die cut all 3 leaves. And you can see that there are 3 different color green pieces of cardstock from that floral paper pad. Once I have them all placed on my die cutting machine, I'll add the pink cutting plate on top and I'll run that through my die cutting machine. Now I ran them through once here, but I'm also going to die cut another set of leaves just like the ones I just die cut. So I'm going to have 2 of each kind of leaves. So I'm going to use my tool-in-one just to remove those cardstock pieces from the die. There's little holes in the top of the die, and that piercing tip you can actually put through the hole in the die to release the cardstock. Now I'm going to bring back out the rose dies, and I'm going to do the same thing to release the white cardstock from that rose die. And because that cardstock had double-sided adhesive on it, I'm just going to weed out all of the pieces there that are inside of that rose. But you can already see how intricate that die cut piece is. So it's best to add the double-sided adhesive when you're die cutting this die, so you don't have to worry about trying to add glue to the back side of this when putting this rose together. So I'm just going to take the white die cut piece and I'm going to line it up with the shadow layer that I die cut in pink and press that on, and you can see that beautiful rose. And I'll do the same thing with the large rose, so you can see how pretty both of those roses are when they are put together. To add some depth to these leaves, I'm going to use a green ink. The green ink I'm using is the Scrapbookcom Succulent Ink. I'm just going to add some ink to the edges of these leaves just for some extra depth. And I'm going to do it for all of them. And just look at the difference between the die cut piece on the left versus the one on the right. The one on the left has the ink added and the one on the right does not. And you can see the depth that the ink adds. I'm also going to add some accents with a white gel pen to all of my leaves. Next, I'm going to work on the card background. So I have the background die that I die cut earlier in this video, and if you put that white background die against any of these colors in this floral paper pad, it would look so pretty. But instead of using one of the colored pieces of cardstock, I'm just going to do white on white. So I have an A2 size white card base. It measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, which is the same exact size as this background die. I'm just going to add glue to the back of the background die and add it to the card front. Next, I'm going to go ahead and arrange my roses as well as the leaves on my card. I'm going to arrange the roses and the leaves so they're clustered at the bottom right-hand corner of my landscape card. Just going to tuck some of the leaves under the roses, and I know that I need to leave some space at the top right for a sentiment. I'm using the Scrapbookcom thank you dies, and there are several dies in there. You have thank you, thanks, and there's also the word hello. And it looks like the one that's going to fit the best is the word hello. So you can see how I've just positioned the die on my card, and then I go ahead and rearrange some of the flowers so that they don't go over top of the die once I glue them down. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut my word hello. So I have my platform A base, the platform B top, followed by the pink cutting plate. I have my black cardstock and then my die face down, followed by the pink cutting plate. And I'll go ahead and run that through my die cutting machine. I'll use the piercing tip on my tool-in-one to remove that cardstock from the die. And then I'll go ahead and add it to my card. So I'm adding the sentiment first, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue down all of the leaves, and then I will glue down the roses right on top. I'm going to add some of the Spellbinders Onyx gems to the card, and then this card is complete. So I will have product links to all of the products that I've used in this video today down in the description box below. So if you are interested in any of these products, take a look down there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe for more card making tutorials. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.